Don't confuse sex with love. Sex can be intense and insincere because sex may or may not be love. You may be very intense with your sexual energy, but once you release that unconscious intensity, you will feel empty again. Love may not look so intense, but it is sincere. And because it is sincere, the intensity will always continue with love. I am Chandresh Bhardwaj, and this is Leela Gurukul. Namaste everyone. I hope you're doing great. I hope you're feeling safe, calm, relaxed, wherever you are. And thank you for holding the space for me and for yourself for this episode. I feel these sensitive topics are not discussed enough. They are hidden in our mind. They are hidden in most conversations. And creating an open dialogue on sexual craving, the transmutation of the sexual craving. I feel it's so important to reflect on these topics, to discuss, and to open your heart to it. Before I get into this topic, I have few important announcements. I feel you should listen to each one of them because hopefully at least one of them will be important to you. Number one, today is the last chance to apply for Leela Gurukul's Conscious Meditation Program. The program will begin on September 22nd. That's the date we have right now. And we are connecting with new students, talking to them and reading the applications. And it's been absolutely heartwarming experience. As always, the group is going to be small, intimate, so that we all can dive deeper into the sensitive topics, discussions on not only meditation, but all other topics that you listen on the podcast. The topics of sexual energy, death, divine feminine, divine masculine, the darkness within, the chaos going on everywhere. Along with meditations, lectures, monthly group calls, the social space we have on Leela called Circle, there is a lot happening there. So if you feel called, invited, inspired to join a conscious tribe and to deepen your awareness through meditation, do apply for Leela Gurukul, and I look forward to speaking with you. The link will be in the show notes, or simply go to leelagurukul.com and you'll find a link there to apply. Second announcement, we have two important rituals coming up, the tantra rituals in October and in November. The October ritual is Navratri, starts on October 7th to October 14th. I highly recommend that you take out time to meditate and maybe increase your duration of meditation for those few days. And then we have November 4th, Diwali, the night of conscious abundance. Navratri is the 9 nights of divine feminine abundance, the celebration of that feminine consciousness. And Diwali in November is the celebration of that conscious abundance. If you scroll back some episodes on the podcast, you'll get to listen more, you'll get to understand more about Diwali and Navratri. And final announcement for this one. This is going to be the last episode of Leela Gurukul podcast for now. I'll be pausing the podcast for a short while. Don't ask me how long. It could be 2 weeks. It could be 4 weeks, could be 2 months. I don't know yet. I know I need to pause it. And there are two major reasons why I'm feeling the need to pause it. Number one, my sadhana, the spiritual practice that we do in Tantra, it's demanding more of my energy, more of my attention, more of my time. And podcast takes a significant amount of just that mental space, creative space that you need to hold for it. And sadhana requires a certain disconnect from everything. When I write on Instagram, the poetry or other writings, they are a different outlet. I could write, let's say, 7 posts in 10 minutes. That doesn't take that much outlet for me. And when I record videos for my YouTube channel, I usually finish all the 2 months videos in 1 hour. It's 5-minute video. It doesn't take that much effort. But podcast has become such a sacred ritual for me. It's been a sort of a sadhana, a meditation for me. And after recording more than 120 episodes, which I did without any break, I feel I need to pause it for a while and then come back with more subjects, more topics, maybe a new structure. Who knows? Right now, I'm surrendering to the unknown, pausing it for a while. And while the Leela Gurukul podcast is going to be on a pause, I highly encourage that you go back to the old episodes. Take notes from the old episodes. Go to my Instagram, CB Meditates, to read more about Tantra, to read more on meditation. Go to my YouTube channel to dive deeper into those videos. There is a huge library publicly available, free of cost to everyone for it. And in addition to sadhana, the other thing that is demanding a huge, huge space and time from me is Leela, of course. Leela started last year on the papers. We started putting everything together on creative level. The students started joining this year. The first batch started, I believe, early this year. I can't remember the month. Maybe it was March. But as Leela started to unfold, it's unfolding in a way that's beyond my imagination. It's very organic, very beautiful. And I truly, truly feel that I need to give it that attention, the love it deserves right now. Because through the podcast, through other energy outlets, I felt that maybe I'm not able to dive deeper into it on a level I wish to. And pausing the podcast is one of the decisions that I had to take. It's a short, brief pause, and I'll see you in few weeks, as I said, or maybe few months. We'll see. We'll wait and watch. And now let's get into the topic for today. Sexual cravings and their transmutation. What is transmutation, by the way? You'll find many definitions of it on Google. I define transmutation as a way of channeling, as a way of almost putting 2 chemicals in a lab and then creating something really powerful out of it. Transmutation is dissolving of one karmic contract and creating a new force out of it. In a way, giving birth to a baby is transmutation of sexual energy. And this episode is a reminder to understand the cravings and the transmutation, but you should do it your way, not my way, your way. I want to invite you into that space. I want you to show up for what kind of energy, what kind of flow it's demanding from you. And if you're really honest with yourself, you will know that your mind, body, and soul, they have been telling you how to handle that sexual energy. The first step here to understand is the craving for sex should not be judged at any cost. Each time you crave that sexual experience, you are craving the experience of that egolessness, that space where you don't exist anymore. Your physical identity, your religious identity, your family identity, your social identity, none of the identities exist anymore. The roles you have been playing, the drama you have been experiencing, the trauma of it, the pain, the suffering, all of it dissolves. And this is why we get so attracted toward that orgasmic state. This is why we get so attracted, almost obsessively attracted towards sex, because the sex craving is the craving for that egolessness state where the self dissolves. And each time you experience that craving, that's a call to surrender to that higher consciousness. Every craving for the sexual pleasure is the craving for the soul to experience that zero ego state. We talked about center of consciousness in one of the recent episodes. The center of consciousness is where your energy roots itself. For many people, it's the lower sexual chakras. For some people, it's throat chakra or third eye or heart. I won't get into what each chakra means here. But for most people, the center of consciousness is unconsciously built around the sex center and the lower chakras. And what happens when that's, the case? People get stuck there then. So when they experience sex craving, they feel sex is good, and they keep having either substances, medicines even, or they keep going for that unconscious call of the body to keep satisfying that craving. Now the problem is, they release sex as a sneeze. So when you're releasing it as a sneeze, you release the tension. And the tension will build back again, maybe in few hours, in a day, in a week, but it will build up again. And when it builds up again, you again want to release it. And that unconscious cycle keeps on repeating itself. And by surrendering to this endless repeating, you train your mind and body that this is how I'm choosing to release it. And very soon, the mind body will believe you, and they'll keep convincing you that yes, this is the way to release it. You either indulge in self-pleasure, you either indulge in mindless, unconscious sex, but you keep releasing it, and you keep filling that tension back. And unfortunately, if around this moment, one of these so-called tantra sex stuff shows up, either in the form of a book, podcast, or a teacher, things will get really messy really quickly, because now you have a spiritual voice telling you that what you're doing is absolutely great. Just bring some more crystals and candles and keep doing what you're doing. Suddenly your ego, your illusion got more power, it got more fuel. And when you get more fuel, what happens? Then you again keep repeating it. This happens to people who get so blinded in that illusion, who get so dominated by that energy of sex, that they don't know how else to handle that energy. And as I said, the mind will convince you that what you're doing is absolutely fine, and you shouldn't be listening to anyone. This is one side of the coin. The other side is very interesting. The other side is the side where, the mind tells you sex is sin. It's not good. Either before marriage or even indulging in it too much, not good. So what happens in that case? You keep fighting the symptoms. So you could be indulging in self-pleasure, you could be indulging in mindless sex, and whenever it happens, you are filled with guilt, anger, disappointment with yourself. And then one day your mind says, because you already know how terrible this idea is, that you keep indulging in it even if you're doing it once in 3 months, why don't you replace it with something? So some people replace it with running or working out. Whenever they feel that sexual urge, they'll start to work out. And guess what happens? Then we have people who are overly exhausting the body by working out too much, because one obsession is replaced with another one. In this case, celibacy is handled in a very terrible way. In both these situations, one thing is missing: the awareness, the understanding of the craving. In both the cases, the people are focusing on the symptoms, the outcome, and not focusing on the root of it. It's like, let's say you have a tree in your backyard And the fruits are not, as sweet or as good as you were expecting. So each time, the tree gives those bad fruits, you take them off, throw them, and then again in few days you have the same kind of fruits and you get angry. Why, the same kind of fruits are coming up? I'm making sure I throw the bad ones. But the truth is, you're trying your effort in the wrong direction. If you keep working on the fruits, nothing will change because the tree has to be worked on from the roots. You have to understand the science of the tree from the root itself. So first thing to understand here is the craving for sex should not be judged. You should absolutely treat it with reverence, with respect. If you don't have respect for your sex craving, it's going to go in wild directions. First of all, if something is bothering you, it could be a human or a situation. If something is making you uneasy, you cannot solve it by being angry with it, by trying to fight with it. You have to invite that calmness and clarity to understand these things. So whenever sex craving shows up, have some reverence, because imagine, what if you didn't have that craving? The craving for sex will also limit, the craving for other things, because if there's no craving for pleasure at all, that will affect your other emotions. It could affect emotion of joy, pain, grief, sadness, laughter. All these emotions are built in such a beautiful way that if you try to suppress one, every other emotion will also be suppressed. And if you release one consciously, every other emotion will also be released consciously. So instead of judging it, suppressing it, start inviting respect for it. Start honoring it with love. Start honoring it with pause. And remind yourself each time I feel this craving, I'm not going to jump on it. I'm not going to react like a machine. I'm human. I'm awareness, not a machine. And my final take is, each time the craving arises and you have this reverence, laugh at it. Be a little silly with it and tell yourself, is that so? So I was trying to work on this project and guess what? I'm having this sexual urge. Is that so? When you bring a humor, when you bring this sacred reverence with a humor in it, these impulsive energies cannot dominate you. The reason why they become so heavy on you, it's simply because we are almost scared of them. We glorify them also. The social media glorifies them. And we start to believe those stories. We start to believe those narratives. And I feel until and unless you do not understand the silliness of this craving that arises, you'll not be able to go beyond it. And why I'm calling it silliness? Because imagine yourself. You want to read, meditate, do something really good, but instead you end up either on a text, marathon, sexual texting, sexting, or you go through self-pleasure, or you go through mindless sex, or you go through just a sexual sneeze with your partner for no reason. There's no love, no passion. You just had to release it. That's the silliness I'm talking about. Start laughing at it. Start being honest with it, that it's silly, so stupid, so idiotic. Because if you do not do that, it will haunt you. It will become bigger than you. You don't have to feel guilty about it. You don't have to judge it. You just have to feel the silliness of it. One interesting mantra is that so? Each time that urge arises, ask yourself, is that so? By having this conscious awareness on your sexual cravings, the transmutations will start to unfold in the most beautiful way. I also recommend that maybe you can have a folder on your phone. Each time you relapse, it could be through masturbation or through an actual act of sex. Whenever that relapse happens, go to your folder, write it down, what led to this release, what motivated you, what really made you do this. And it's fine, there's no judgment at all. So don't beat yourself in that moment. Just write it down. This is what happened. I was bored, I was lonely, I was tired, and I just did this. And this is the date and time it happened. And now I will not release this. I will not masturbate. I'll not indulge in unconscious sex for at least until next 20 days or 10 days or 6 days. Write something, put some deadline into it, because this is now you training your mind and body to handle your sexual craving in a very different way. When you keep doing this, when you build this habit, your mind and body will accept it. They'll start to honor it. In fact, they'll start to lead you in that direction. So next time you feel the urge, instead of doing what you have always done, you'll immediately think of the phone or writing in it or telling yourself, is that so? Or just inviting a creative outlet. And I'm not a big fan that when you feel the sexual urge, only then you should be doing something creative. I feel creativity should be an effortless act on a daily basis. If you're only doing it around at that time, it doesn't make sense. It's meaningless. You should be inviting more creativity and less productivity into your work, into your life, because this is how the transmutation can take place on a very organic level. And as you continue to respect the craving, look at it with curiosity, even document the relapse, and continue the creative courage, continue that creative outlet on a daily basis. Before you realize, you'll be surprised that your overall sexual release has become so conscious. It has become so gentle, much, much stronger, but still so gentle. And this is how the cravings can be honored, cravings can be transmuted. And of course, you can experiment this with many other things. But for now, let's invite that reverence, that honor for your sexual cravings, and let your mind and body know that today you are going to revisit this entire channel of your cravings. That's all for today. Be safe, be well. May the teachings of Tantra continue to guide you and heal you. And I hope Leela Gurukul helps you to unlearn the old and embrace the unknown mystical possibility unfolding for you. To support this podcast, share it among the seekers who are ready for the next step in their spiritual path.